LPGA just did everything that the WNBA should have been doing this season. They did it all correct in literally one day.
What if one signature on a contract could not only change your life, but completely redefine the game for female athletes everywhere?
Previous video how this Pro-Am event originally wasn't even going to be televised, but there were so many fans who were emailing the organization saying, how can we watch Caitlin? Can we come to the event? Can you live stream it? All of these things. And it ended up being put on television. And that was great. Fans were really excited about that. There was so much buzz online. She was trending on Twitter, all of the things. And the LPGA was promoting the crap out of this event. And they also did something really smart by pairing her up with their currently #1 golfer in the world.
Now imagine that same personal victory lighting a fuse that explodes into one of the most talked about rivalries in sports. That's exactly what happened when Caitlin Clark, the undisputed queen of headlines and highlight reels, sealed a monumental deal with the LPGA. Within hours, what should have been a celebration turned into a digital battlefield, with A'ja Wilson, a bona fide WNBA legend, throwing the first stone with a tweet everyone understood and no one will forget. This isn't just a story about money or jealousy. This is the exposure of a fundamental crack in the heart of women's basketball. A cold war between the old guard and an unstoppable force rewriting all the rules. What followed was a perfect storm of bruised pride, missed opportunities, and the one question no one in the league wants to answer. How far can this divide go before it all comes crashing down? When the official news broke, it landed with the force of a silent earthquake. Caitlin Clark, the prodigy already carrying the weight of women's basketball on her shoulders, hadn't just landed another endorsement. She had transcended the sport. The deal with the LPGA Tour wasn't a simple seal of approval. It was a multifaceted partnership, a strategic fusion of images that would link Clark's name to the excellence of women's golf for years to come. The leaked details painted a picture of immense ambition. Millions of dollars, high-profile cross-promotional campaigns, image rights that would make her the face of an entire sport. It was the ultimate validation in a corporate world that now measures success by the noise an athlete can generate. And in that department, Clark is a full symphony orchestra. The internet, of course, instantly imploded. Fans, analysts, and even fellow athletes celebrated the move, seeing it as a win for all. But behind the scenes, in group chats and private conversations, a completely different sentiment began to boil. One person's celebration was another's bitter reminder, and it was in this cauldron of conflicting emotions that A'ja Wilson, champion, MVP, and icon of the league, decided she had heard enough. Her tweet was a masterpiece of implication. So you telling me you can miss shots and still get golf money now? That's all it took? She didn't need to name a single name. In a universe where Caitlin Clark has become an omnipresent force, there was no room for doubt about the target. The message was sent, and with it, the WNBA's mask of unity began to crumble. To understand the true depth of Wilson's reaction, you first have to decipher the Caitlin Clark phenomenon beyond the court. She isn't just a talented player, she is an engagement machine with a heartbeat. From her first day as a pro, Clark demonstrated an almost mystical quality for capturing public attention. A gift brand's chase like a modern holy grail. She sells jerseys, elevates TV ratings to historic levels, and most crucially, she keeps her name constantly in the trending topics, not for controversy, but through an aura of relentless success. While other athletes battle for a sliver of media spotlight, Clark seems to generate her own media gravity. Remember that golf Pro-Am event that was initially going to be ignored by cameras? It was the flood of fan emails asking, "How can we watch Caitlin?" that forced a live broadcast. She doesn't just attend the event, she becomes the event. The LPGA, of course, saw this faster than anyone. They weren't just hiring a basketball player, they were boarding the Clark Effect bullet train. By pairing her with the world's #1 golfer, Nelly Korda, they created a moment of pure spectacle, a superstar collision that generated priceless buzz. That is the power Clark carries. She is the embodiment of hype, and in today's sports ecosystem, that is worth more than trophies. So, Aja Wilson's reaction can't be dismissed as simple petty jealousy. It was an overflow of a frustration years in the making. Think about her resume: a two-time MVP, multiple championships, a career built on sweat and absolute dominance within the four lines. She is the pure representation of the grind, the one who raised the level of the game long before Caitlin Clark was a household name. Yet, looking at the headlines and the sponsorship spreadsheets, Wilson and other veterans find themselves relegated to background characters in their own story. Wilson's MVP-level season is overshadowed by Clark's latest Instagram story. An Aces championship win becomes a footnote on the day Clark posts a video practicing three-pointers. Aja isn't just competing against other teams. She's competing against a media hurricane. Her tweet was the lashing out of someone who feels the rules of the game were changed at halftime. The foundation is no longer just raw talent, but an elusive combination of charisma, timing, and an appeal that resonates far beyond the core basketball fan base. And that is a battle the old guard was simply never trained for. Wilson's frustration is, at its core, a lament for an era where on-court accolades were the most valuable currency, a time that has apparently come to an end. This conflict exposes a deep division in the narrative surrounding the WNBA. On one side, there's the story of Caitlin Clark, the savior, the revolutionary, the player who finally made the league profitable and visible to the masses. Her fans, many of them new to the sport, see her as a benevolent force of nature, and any criticism of her prominence is seen as ingratitude or resistance to progress. On the other side lies the narrative of Aja Wilson and her peers, that of the struggle, the resilience, and the slow, steady build. To this faction, Clark is the manufactured superstar, a beneficiary of perfect timing and a commercial appeal that somehow diminishes the collective struggle of those who paved the path before her. The comments on social media are the battlefield where this war is fought daily. Clark is carrying the league on her back, her supporters shout. She's done more for the WNBA in 1 year than Wilson ever did. Others taunt. These phrases, while they may contain statistical truths about viewership and revenue, are pure gasoline on a bonfire of egos. They ignore the years of quiet advocacy, the fights for better pay, and the sustained excellence that kept the league alive for a phenomenon like Clark to one day flourish. The chasm between these two realities isn't just about who is the better player, it's about which story deserves to be told. And right now, the louder, more sellable story is winning. When we talk about this rivalry, everything becomes more concrete and more shocking when the real numbers enter the scene. The rumors circulating in the halls of sports business are jaw-dropping. Clark's LPGA contract is said to be valued somewhere in the ballpark of $6 to $8 million. But wait, it's not just that. We're talking about a deal spanning just 2 years, a ridiculously short period for such an astronomical value. To put it in perspective, this single contract, outside of basketball, likely surpasses what most WNBA players will accumulate in an entire career from salaries alone. The details are what truly reveal the game. This isn't a common endorsement, but a strategic partnership including high-level brand events, cross-marketing campaigns with giants like Nike Golf, and even a shared media project. This isn't just paying an athlete to use a product. It's fusing Clark's identity with that of the golf league, making her a living symbol of female power across sports. Meanwhile, Aja Wilson, with all her hardware, is still navigating a sponsorship market that, while respectable, doesn't compare to this new benchmark. The math is cruel and exposes an uncomfortable truth. In modern sports, the ability to generate mass engagement can be worth more, in dollars, than pure mastery of the game itself. While dust storms swept across social media, one remarkable fact stood out. From the eye of the hurricane, not a single sound emerged. Caitlin Clark employed a strategy that proved to be brutally effective. Absolute silence. No clapback tweet, no veiled insinuation in an interview, not even an attempt to explain herself. She simply kept working. This posture, far from being passive, is one of the smartest public relations maneuvers a rising athlete can make. While Wilson and others expended energy in public battles, Clark was proving her greatest value to sponsors. She is a machine for generating positive headlines in conversation without ever becoming a liability or an image risk. She is the definition of a marketer's dream: focused, unshakable, and above all, non-controversial. The irony is that this calculated silence probably hurts her critics more than any retort ever could. It's a demonstration of tacit power. She doesn't need to enter the fray because, from a business standpoint, she's already won. Every time an opponent reacts, the name Caitlin Clark gains more traction, her search value rises, and her negotiation for the next deal gets even stronger. While some are fighting in the mud of the comments section, Clark and her team are in boardrooms, signing the next million-dollar partnership. That is the difference between playing the game and changing the game. It might feel like we're witnessing something brand new, but the history of sports is full of familiar echoes. The feeling of an established generation being overshadowed by a new force is a script that has repeated for decades. Remember when a young, phenomenal LeBron James emerged, destined to become the face of the NBA? Several veterans who had dominated the league for years didn't welcome the news with open arms. There was a palpable resentment, a feeling that he was stealing a spotlight he hadn't fully earned. The same happened with Serena Williams in tennis. Her absolute dominance and her ability to command global media attention, often overshadowing achievements of other equally talented players, generated side eyes and sharp comments behind the scenes. What we're seeing between Clark and Wilson is simply the latest version of this eternal cycle. The earth-shattering success of new talent inevitably provokes an earthquake in the status quo. What's different today is the speed and ferocity with which this cycle plays out, amplified by social media. A single tweet can ignite a crisis in minutes, and the narrative is defined not by sports journalists, but by fans and haters in real time. A'ja Wilson isn't a villain. She's the protagonist in a chapter that's been written many times before. The question is, what will she and the WNBA learn from the mistakes of the past? What started with a contract announcement has morphed into something far bigger. A mirror reflecting all the tensions, hopes, and fears of women's sports in 2024. On one side, the cold, brilliant reality of business, personified by Caitlin Clark, a marketing phenomenon proving an athlete's value, is now measured by digital reach and selling power. On the other, the raw passion and sense of injustice from A'ja Wilson, representing those who believe greatness within the lines should be the final currency. The WNBA, caught in the middle, wobbles between celebrating its new hero and appeasing its founding legends, risking pleasing no one. This story goes far beyond a tweet or a golf contract. It's about the painful and necessary evolution of a league discovering the price of mainstream success. So what's your take? Is Caitlin Clark's meteoric rise the best thing to ever happen to women's basketball? Or is it creating a rift that could cost them dearly down the line? Does A'ja Wilson have a right to feel this way? Or is it time for her to adapt her game off the court? The battle is just beginning, and the next move belongs to all of us. Drop your thoughts in the comments below, because this conversation is only the start. If you want to stay on top of every twist and turn in this drama, make sure to like, subscribe, and share this video. More explosive stories are coming your way.